1. Everybody good? Good. Hi. Well, good morning. Welcome to Jupiter. Obviously, always an exciting time. You know, it's sort of interesting as you think about it's my 18th camp and addressing media. And typically, you spend a lot of time like rehashing all the accomplishments of the off season. So this will be brief. You know, it's needless to say, it's been frustrating because we are trying to do some different things as we transition into a new leadership group and really a new direction with the franchise moving forward in 2026. So as I've tried to remind myself all offseason that this offseason just continues to keep going, it's perpetual. But reality is with pitchers and catchers reporting yesterday, going through their physicals today, and they'll be on the field here probably in the next hour. You know, the spring training's starting, and that means we are right around the corner from our season, and so decisions have to be made. And as we start to think about our roster, what we want to look like, there are some things we still would like to tweak and try to do. Obviously, the pink elephant in the room is what are we going to do with Nolan Arenado? You know, you think back to when we first met on this in October, to the GM meetings, etc. And you know, candidly, we're still looking at what that might look like. And you know, could something happen in the next week? Possibly. Could this go into camp? Possibly. So I really don't have like a definitive answer for everybody that's curious on what will be the answer. So patience is required, and as I flip the script from him and then sort of look at what our camp is and what we're seeing, you know, this transition is going to be about a youth movement. It is going to be about giving players opportunities. We are excited about the guys we have in this camp. I mean, obviously next week when position players report, it's going to have a little different feel to it. But nonetheless, the Cardinals are excited about directionally where we're going. We certainly understand that there could be some things that happen between now and the time we get to St. Louis. So at this point, I'll turn it out to questions.
Well, without, obviously, you don't know how it's going to shake out, but obviously, Nolan Arenado is a big piece for you to figure out where it's a fit. Are you optimistic that at some point you'll be able to find a spot from before camp ends?
It's hard to say. I mean, like if you think back to when we first started discussing the possibility of trading him, we thought all along that we could probably do something this offseason, but it just hasn't happened. I think, you know, you can determine on your own why that might not be happening. Could be the free agent market, could be who's available on the free agent market. I imagine there's a direct correlation there. But, you know, ultimately, I did not have a large list of teams, so it wasn't like 29 I could take him to. So I'm just trying to navigate what I could work with, and obviously it hasn't moved at the pace many of us go for.
Do you think it will at some point?
I really don't know. I mean, I've always been an optimist on trying to get deals done, so I am hopeful, but we'll see.
Well, is it awkward? Was it awkward at all? Is it tenable? Like if he had to be here, could it be working out?
I think so. I mean, we're adults. Would it be awkward? I imagine there might be a moment of awkwardness, but I still think that, you know, he's a professional baseball player. He's currently a St. Louis Cardinal, and you know, we all understand that once you're here, it's pushing for that. And would that mean then, you know, trying to accomplish something maybe during spring training? Possibly, but there's no guarantees.
Well, what does the spring training with Nolan here look like versus?
Well, I think that the difference is how you define the word opportunity, right? If you're somebody like a Nolan Gorman, where's your at bats come from? So I definitely think there's a direct correlation there. So as we talk about this transition, as we talk about opportunity as one of those themes, it would be a limiting factor to some individuals.
Does it limit you in a different way too, financially with what you want to do, depth-wise at other spots?
Well, I think like overall, we like what we've been able to bring to camp right now. Does that mean there's not some activity we might still try to do? The answer is no. We still might be open to that. But I would say it's not in the part where we're just handcuffed.
Did Nolan say definitely report? I mean, did he say, yeah, but
Well, I have not spoken to him about that because I don't know if that's going to need to happen that conversation. But please have Reggie.
when new direction. Where do like playoffs figure into that new direction?
Well, we'll see how we play. Our goal is to win this year. Our goal last year was to win. We fell a few games short of getting the postseason. But our hope is that if all things go right, we feel like we have a veteran pitching staff. We feel like we have some emerging arms, and we feel like we have a really talented young core. So it's not a bad bet to make on a young team.
So along those lines, excuse me, you talk about wanting the young guys to play. Can you talk about how difficult it is though when you have five incumbent starting pitchers, but you also have Liberty, Matthews, Liberatore, etc.
Yeah, I think those are great names, by the way. I think McGreevy obviously showed he's capable of pitching the big leagues last year, and I think that's great depth. But he's also knows he's going to have a great career, hopefully in the big leagues. And then you mentioned somebody like Matthews. Now, he had a brief stint at AAA. I would imagine that's where he's going to start and see what he develops like. But the whole point is, as we begin this transition, which we have begun, but the idea is to like, how do we set ourselves up for 26, 27, and beyond?
Where's your comfort level with the offense? Taking a couple of veteran bats out, struggled last year with run scoring. How big
Is this a sophomore thing, junior thing? Where are they graduating to be a regular major league player? Time will tell.
So instrumental to last year's success. Obviously, we've talked about maybe adding a veteran leader hasn't happened as of yet, but there does seem to be a lot of specifically on the side. What do you say about that?
Well, I do think that allows us some flexibility. I do feel like when I look at the last 30-some years of the Cardinals, there always was that sort of veteran voice in the bullpen that tend to help manage what was going on down there. So I do think there's some value in that, but I definitely think there's some exciting arms. And in terms of like, do we have like the horsepower and the arms to get people out? I think the answer is yes. But as you know, whereas 162, it's nice to have someone down there that can help manage it. And you don't want to always put that like on your closer, because that's such a different role. So that is something that we are kind of thinking about.
Are there any names very early that you're seeing ahead of the pack or names you're excited to watch from the relationship side?
I would just say, my initial blush at looking at this group is they all came in prepared. And, from brief conversation as I was walking out here with the medical staff, everybody looks healthy, and so from a standpoint of where they look like they're ready to go, that's good. I haven't really been down here long enough to say like, which one has changed their profile or added 3 miles an hour or something.
Mo, you mentioned not being able to. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this thing with COVID is unlike anything you've been through in the spring training. Is it just the nebulousness of it?
Yeah, I can't think of anything that is even close to this.
Does it share any similarities with an extension in the sense that sometimes, like you think back 14 years, Albert says, I want something before camp starts or nothing, versus Paul Goldschmidt being like, we'll see how this evolves. I mean, is it all akin to that?
Not really, because in those cases, even if you weren't able to do something, you still were accepting and ready to move. This is a little bit of awkwardness, as Martin said.
Yeah.
There's some truth to that. So, have some time to try to avoid awkwardness, and if not, we'll deal with awkwardness.
Have you corresponded with him, Mo, or are you mostly with the agent?
I haven't had a lot of contact with that camp for the last couple of weeks, but part of that's just been distraction of arbitrations and things like that. But I'll definitely check in here in the next day or two.
Well, you've been comfortable operating in kind of that fluid zone through a spring, just to see what happens, what opportunities free agents added college. Do you have to know how comfortable Nolan is operating in that fluidness, where it might take the field for this team one day of spring while you're talking about trading into another team?
Is that a possibility? Sure. I'm not sure how you want me to answer that in terms of how he's thinking.
I guess I'm wondering if you need to know, if that's a question you need to have answered from him when he arrives.
I don't know, if you're on this team, don't you have to come?
Yeah, no, you do. But
I don't
once
have
he's here-
holdouts in this sport.
Right.
So, if the opportunity would present itself to do something, I think we'd be open to it.
Mo, you mentioned not being able to kind of shop them around to 29 different teams. How large a group were you having to work with this winter, and has that expanded at all over the last couple of months?
It has not.
Okay.
It was 5 teams.
It's fine.
Oh, speaking of Nolan, I asked you about Gorman. Can you describe what the sweet spot is for him? He's going to strike out, obviously, some, but last year was too much, but other years maybe okay. What is there a sweet spot? I don't know if it's a percentage. How would you describe that?
Well, I think, like, for me, when I look at him, and obviously I'm not the hitting coach or the coach in general, but, you know, I feel like he has the ability to be the guy that can really drive the ball to left center. I feel like when he's taking advantage of that, that's when doubles and home runs happen. And so, yeah, I think we all understand the trade-off of the strikeouts, but you still have to balance that with the production. And so, you know, when you think about somebody that's like capable of being a 25 or 30 plus home run guy, knowing that you might get 30 strikeouts, I still feel like his value comes from not just the 30 home runs, but like what types of doubles and that type of production. So ball and play for him, I think does matter.
We said 30%.
Yeah.
Mo, is it fair to describe for Jordan Walker this spring as sort of a fresh runway opportunity to really feel comfortable and show? They broke, man. It's been I got stranded yesterday on the highway. Now the glasses. But Jordan Walker, what kind of runway could this be for him in spring and heading into the season?
Well, I think you got to remind yourself he's 22, so patience is real here. But obviously, you know, last year did not go the way he had hoped for him or us. So adjustments have to be made. But in terms of like trying to, you know, write the first chapter and the last chapter based on 6 weeks, probably not the best strategy.
Did Contreras and Gray wanting to be here, did that shift what you guys wanted to do? In fact, a couple of veterans wanted to stick around?
Not necessarily in the sense of change. It was really about understanding how I could meet, you know, payroll goals, but then also trying to thread a needle to remain competitive. And, you know, had those guys asked to be moved or considered to be moved, it would have, you know, definitely changed our off-season strategy. But, you know, they didn't, and I'm glad they didn't. I still think this team can be fun to watch.
You all expect everyone to be able to report on time as far as immigration stuff, visa stuff, all that?
I have not been told that we have any concerns.
Has that process been different at all over the last month or so? Was that something that you all had to be prepared for that changed?
It was something that we looked into post-inauguration, but we were told everything should be fine.
Is that you guys are Major League Baseball?
Major League Baseball, yeah. But we asked them.
Right, yeah.
We were talking past how deadlines tend to increase urgency. Do you sense that at all with, as you've re-engaged with teams, that there's an improved urgency?
Well, I think we all, like, there is no deadline, right?
Yeah.
In this particular case, and we can, you know, create our own if we
Like a
want.
report deadline.
Right, but I do feel like as teams are beginning to report, it definitely feels like there's more urgency to see if there could be some way to bring this to completion.
You mentioned Gorman's at-bats if Arenado's still on the team, but isn't it really more of a trickle down to he'll still probably get at-bats at second base, so then move Donovan to outfield, maybe new parts, but suddenly it's either Victor Scott or Siani being truly affected by
I mean,
that.
you could take that domino approach and put 8 different 9
Yeah.
games in there. So
But it's
that'd
gonna
be a
affect
difficult
some-
interview, and I don't want to go down that path, but yes, it's going to affect young people's at-bats.
How was this spring for you, just in terms of this will be your last one here, obviously, in this job? I would imagine this is not what you anticipated this looking like. It's here. How are you kind of looking at it from a global view?
I'm looking at it as just part of my job at the moment. I really haven't had that moment of reflection of, you know, here it is, last time of this example. But, you know, right now it's you know, still trying to figure out a way to, you know, achieve certain goals with this team, and ultimately that's what we're working towards. You know, I will say, and you know, Derek mentioned it, it's an oddity, right? Like, normally, like, we open this thing with, like, you know, feeling really good about what we accomplished in the off season, and then the hope of spring. Everybody gets excited when they're down here, and we go play baseball. But right now, we have this over our heads, and that's what we're just working through.
What are those goals from a competitive standpoint? What is the end of the year?
Oh, I don't make predictions like that, and you know I don't answer that. But the point is it's we going into this hoping to win baseball.
Well,